Athletics is the big news today, but we also want to talk about our academic piece. As you may know, on Tuesday night at the board meeting, our academic services team presented a day in the life of uh, CCS virtual students from elementary, middle, and high school. And we really like how those presentations turned out. So we want to talk a little bit about that as well, because we think that's important for the families and communities to see. Um, so I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Dixon to get us started. But then if you have questions, if you either want to use the raise a hand function, or if you do have your video on, just give me a wave, and I'll try to call on people as we go. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Dixon.
Hello, everyone. So, as Scott stated, at Tuesday's board meeting, our academics services team presented samples of the day in the life of a CCS student attending virtual classes this fall. They showed examples what it would look like in each of their grade spans, and this included schedules and classes throughout the traditional day, as well as brain breaks built in. We also showed how we would track students' attendance during remote learning. Our academic service team has been working diligently to ensure remote learning experiences are the best that they can possibly be for our students. It is important to note that these examples are for students who are attending through the remote learning option and not the self-paced digital academy. We do have 6,000 students who have chosen that option, 6,000 families. Students in the digital academy will largely set their own pace of instruction with guidance from district educators. So as we prepare for the start of this school year, we cannot wait to welcome our students and staff back to our school buildings whenever public health conditions will allow it. But our operations teams have been busy preparing our school buildings, so we're ready for when that day comes. Our buildings include setting up our social distance classrooms, installing protective barriers where needed, signage, etc. And more of that information will be discussed at our upcoming board meeting next Tuesday. As you probably know, we have our Chromebooks. We were happy to receive some CARES Act funding from the city of Columbus, and we were able to purchase 20,000 Chromebooks. So we're happy to announce that those Chromebooks, we've received those Chromebooks, and we will be working with our parents and our school buildings on distribution. And that is so critical to us reopening in our virtual platform. We have to ensure that we have those devices to leverage our academic resources and also reduce that barrier of inequities. Every one of our students will have access to a device. And that is so important. And I want to again thank our partners with the City of Columbus to help make this a reality for our students. We also are partnering with our CEA Teachers Union on a joint survey. And that survey, we hope, is going to give us information about what we've learned from the virtual environment and make sure that our teachers, excuse me, have all of the resources they need to plan this fall. So again, we want to make sure our students and our teachers have all the resources that they need so that we can have a successful virtual opening. And then lastly, our athletics and extracurricular activities. We announced today that we will suspend all our in-person athletic and extracurricular activities in order to help lower the spread of COVID-19 in our community. As you recall, the reason that we moved to an all virtual platform is because the number of positive cases in our community are not what we want, and we do not want to jeopardize the safety of our students and our staff. And so we decided that on this Friday, we will suspend, effective this Friday, we will suspend all of our extracurricular activities and our interscholastic activities. We will continue to evaluate athletics and extracurriculars. And as we monitor the state public health advisory alert system, and what's more important is our guidance from our local Columbus public health officials. Again, as I've stated over and time again, that we rely on our local contacts as we're making the decisions on returning to school and the activities that our students are a part of. So with that, again, we're excited about school opening. It's only a few weeks away. And we will be starting this year off with 10 days of professional development. So our entire organization will be involved in professional development, from equity and diversity training, from technology training, for training on all the new PPE. So we are excited that our organization will be involved in this training. And we are eager to seeing our students and our colleagues, even in a virtual space. It's not ideal, but we are excited that we're able to maximize and utilize rather the virtual environment and the devices to elevate learning in a very different way. So we're excited about that.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon, for that intro. One thing I'll mention before we take questions, if in regards to athletics and any types of positive cases, we won't be able to talk about anything specific due to FERPA and health privacy laws. So if we do get questions on that, we won't be able to address those directly. Just wanted to let you know that might be top of mind. But Dan, I see you've used the raise the hand function, so go ahead and get us started. Dan, you're muted.
How's that?
Yes.
Dr. Dixon, I know with athletics being suspended today, a lot of parents, a lot of students are concerned that there may not be a fall sports season. Is that a concern of yours? Do you anticipate that being the case? And what would you say to those athletes and their families?
Well, right, that's a great question. Well, first, I would say that to our parents, and then I'll let our athletic director, Dr. Vincent Clarino, chime in. But your safety is what's important for us. And for me as a leader, I wanted to make sure that our students are safe and their families are safe from this virus. And we're looking and to hopefully one day be able to say, hey, the virus, the number of cases are decreasing, the number of positive cases are decreasing, and it is safe for our students to have this experience. But right now, it's not. It's not, and I don't want to chance that as a leader of this organization. And we're again following closely the guidance from our health officials, but this was not an easy decision to make. But based on the data that we have and the trends that we're seeing, this was the right decision at this time. And then I'll turn it over to Dr. Clarino for if he wants to chime in.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Dr. Dixon. So Dan, to be very honest with you, is like as Dr. Dixon shared, these are not easy decisions, and there are not any easy decisions right now. So every decision comes with, when you see a decision release, it may read in a 1 minute page, but that's hours and hours of discussions and review and things to that nature before that one page of information can be shared. And we spent a lot of discussion over the past several weeks on trying to figure out what is the best way to move forward with our interscholastic athletics and putting our students and the community in a position where we can provide the most safe and healthy, suitable opportunity. So one of the things that is really important for our kids and our families, communities, and everyone to understand, we were very particular about making sure that we are using the word suspension. We have not canceled fall sports. We have suspended fall sports with the pure thought and energy that as things do improve, we will begin to reflect on our plan that we used for July. We'll tighten it up in areas where we think it needs to be tightened up at, and we will then reinstate our young people to have this opportunity. But what has to happen for that to occur is the larger community has to continue to do their part to help mitigate and slow down the spread. So we're really relying upon everyone to do their part. We're relying upon our student athletes also to make sure that they stay diligent with their actions, even though they're transitioning to a time period where there's not involvement. They need to stay fresh. They need to stay sharp in that restraints. And so if things improve, we can get back out there. So the key really is suspension. It's not cancellation.
Good job.
Someone else want to jump in? I don't see a hand. Go ahead, Alyssa.
You mentioned how much time it took to come to this decision. I'm wondering, is there a reason that you came to the decision today? And were you looking to any other school districts that may have taken the same route in coming to that decision?
Yes. What's important for me and our district when we're making our decisions is the local context, right? And making sure that I'm talking with Dr. Clarino and the board members and our area superintendents and principals, just trying to get a sense of how this decision will affect our students, right? That's very important because this virus has no, it would take its place through with whomever. It doesn't have a name that whomever will attack. And so I wanted to make sure that we're thinking about every aspect of within our organization. And so sometimes with our decisions, my colleagues in the suburbs may be doing something different. But the virus may look different in their communities than it does in ours, right? When you look at the data. So our decisions in Columbus are based on what's happening in Columbus. And our decisions in Columbus, we talk to our local officials and within our people, our local experts to make sure that it's the right decision and that we have other plans in place for our students. For example, as Dr. Clarino spoke, we want to make sure that our students are keeping themselves healthy, but their coaches are mentors to them, right? And that's another a positive adult that's in their lives. So how do we make sure if we are suspending our sports that they still have a touch point with a trusted adult? And so we wanted to make sure that that could still happen in some way, and that we're working around that. So our students, still have, hope. They still have a trusted adult that's rooting them on. And so those are the factors that we consider when we make our decisions. And I don't take those things lightly, and I don't, rush to make those decisions. I try to be very thoughtful and make sure I'm talking with various people. And Dr. Clarino can tell you, I mean, we just had a conversation one day, the next day I called him back, and I just want to make sure that I'm making the best decisions and making sure we're keeping our students front and center so that they can have what they need, because this is happening to them, and it's unfair in many ways, but it is necessary. But we still want them to remain positive and still have a good school experience, and hopefully we have some better conditions, and then we can get back and doing some of the other things that they love, like extracurriculars and their sports.
Someone else have a question? I see Steven with your hand up. Go ahead.
How you doing, guys? Your news release mentions guidance from Columbus Public Health. Worthington, when they suspended their extracurriculars briefly, they also mentioned they were following guidance from Columbus Public Health. I'm just wondering if you can elaborate on what this guidance is, what this entails, and what they're kind of directing you guys or recommending that you guys do.
So Columbus Public Health has stated time and time again for us and our zip codes, and it may look different for Worthington zip codes, but for our zip codes, it is important that we're making sure that we are preventing the spread of this virus, right? So if we cannot, one, wear our mask, two, make sure we're socially distanced, three, making sure we're washing our hands. Those things are important because in certain zip codes in some areas of our town, this virus is more prevalent than others. So when we are talking with Columbus Public Health and we're looking at exactly, where is this virus, more prevalent than others, and how can we mitigate it? And those are the decisions that we make and the guidance that they provide for us. Now, they do not say, hey, you must do this or that. They just give us recommendations based on the data. And the decision is our decision. It is our decision as an organization of what we want to do. And so I believe as a CEO that this is best for my students and our community. And then as we continue to get advice, and we see a decrease in the number of cases, and as Dr. Clarino stated, then we would go back and we would make some adjustments to those decisions.
And then what factors did you consider when making this decision to suspend extracurriculars, whether it comes to the students' health or the community's health or the spread of the virus? Is there anything specific that you guys considered when taking this into account?
No, I think it's all of it.
Yeah.
Stephen, when you look at the data and you see where a number of these cases are more prevalent, it's in the zip codes where my students live, right?
Right.
And when you think about, a lot of their family members may have other health challenges, and our students may be exposed and don't even know they're exposed or exposing others. Those were primary. The same reasons when we decided to cancel in-person graduations, when we decided to move to a virtual platform for the first 9 weeks. We're looking at the data in a local context and understanding that there are some health disparities. We've talked about that. The county is talking about the health disparities, and so all of those factors we have to take in consideration from a local context of what's happening with our students and their families within our zip codes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have a question? Allison, go ahead. Allison, if you're trying to ask a question, you might be on mute.
Two quick questions. One, is there specific benchmarks that you're looking for that the community needs to hit before you would reinstate athletics? Start with that one.
I think the first part of your question was kind of muffled. Can you state that again?
Are there specific benchmarks that you're looking for to restart athletics? A positivity rate or a certain number of days of decreasing cases?
Yes, thank you. So thank you, Allison. So we're looking at the same information that we are using to make our decisions with going back to in-person in a blended model for school. So yes, the Columbus Public Health has stated they want to see 4 weeks of a decline of positive cases before we reopen in a blended manner. And we're going to do the same. We're going to apply that same factors to engaging in sports. So we know that Franklin County, we are in red. If we see that if we move to orange or yellow and we see and it's safe for our students to return to play, then we will return. Same as reopening and going back to school in person.
And the second question about sports, obviously you can't just start up a sports program in a short time period. How long, at this point, are you anticipating that this cancellation will be in effect to be extended if need be?
Uh, Again, so it depends, and that's why, as Dr. Clano stated, the suspension is so important. We're going to work closely with our health officials, and as we're monitoring the data, if we see that within 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we can return, then we will. But again, we're going to keep monitoring the data and working closely with our health officials.
Dr. Dixon, if I may
Yep.
include a thought,
Yes.
is that okay?
Yes.
So in addition to that question, Allison, about obviously what it takes to start up an athletic program, that's extremely key. And so as things improve and we get to a point where we believe we can safely bring student athletes back into the fold, we will follow all of the acclimatization periods and those things to get students back and prepared to participate. And some sports take more than others. So, in the sport of football, as an example, it requires a number of days as they build up to full equipment and full contact, because that's a rigorous sport on the physicality of the body. In some other sports, where if you take maybe like a cross country, where an individual is going to just be primarily running, their preparation is a little bit different, and they're obviously able to run at their own pace. So as they begin to build their own endurance back, and they are able to get to a point where they can push themselves into a competition form, then they also have it. So all of those things will be taken into consideration. We have a strong number of coaches who are highly professional that we respect tremendously, and their guidance to make sure our young people are participating, under the proper physical form. And then so for us, we will look at all factors. We will look at the timeline, the scale, and make sure that we bring things back under the appropriate format and timeline.
That's good.
So we'll take one more question. I see MMJ. Oh, Tanisha, go ahead.
Hi, just wondering, have there been any conversations or even plans that have been developed with coaches and students / their families if we kind of get into this start-stop phase, especially for those who are seniors and we're looking to go to a school to play some sort of sport? Has there been conversations about how to help them to get to where they need to be and still would like to be?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, the reality is this, is that, back in the spring, we all got this knee jolting, kind of punch in the gut reality that all of a sudden everything had to come to a stop. And so we felt it best right now is that once we're in a position to move forward, that we can actually move forward and complete the opportunity for students to have a meaningful athletic experience. So there are those students, like you shared, that are seniors that, just as equally challenged as the seniors of 2020 who missed out on their spring sports. We had a young lady that was in a position to compete for her fourth time at the state level, compete for the fourth time at the state level in track and field. And so those types of things actually have to almost be catered and individualized to the particular student, right? Because one of the things that also I would like to share, and I'll come right back to your question, but is, when the decision was made for us to shut down on Friday, what also was equally as important, because in this world of education, we always discuss about relationships. And we didn't want to have a message that comes out, let's say, just on the 11 o'clock news, and coaches not have the opportunity to have the relationship with their student athletes to say, hey, look, this is where we're at right now. That's extremely important, those relationships. And so as we move through this next stage of where we're at as a school district, we're going to rely upon our coaches and our athletic directors to continue to work individually with those seniors who do have some of those opportunities that you've spoken about. And then from a district standpoint, here in this office, we stay in communication with the NCAA Center and the Eligibility Center. So we have a really good grasp on what type of students do have the skill set and the opportunity to play at the next level. And so everyone's situation is unique. And so it's important for us that we just make sure we're individualizing everyone's individual needs and addressing them in that fashion.